Jeff Pearlman, I want to get this right. I believe this is your 83rd appearance on the Other 51, so I'm very grateful to have you back here.
I think it's my 905th.
Oh, my mistake, my mistake. I didn't carry the five. That's what happened. So,
Because every interview is like a long pain in the ass, so they all feel long, you know. And it's like, other 51 again. Jesus Christ.
I mean, you keep writing books. That's the problem, you know. If you
You keep asking for them. That's the problem.
This is The Other 51. I'm Brian, and this week I'm joined by best-selling author Jeff Pearlman, and we talk about his new book, The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. So very, very excited to have you back. First of all, before we get to talking about the Bo Jackson book, congratulations on winning time, man, and on the season 2 and how season 1 went, coming off of your Showtime book. That was just so cool. It had to have been so cool for you.
Well, it happens all the time. Yeah, it was amazing. It was of a career. It's funny. I teach a class, a journalism class, and I was talking to my students the other day. And I was telling a story about the time I interviewed Shaq. And I saw a couple of my students laughing. And I was like, why is that funny? And they're like, well, you're just talking about how you interview Shaq like it's something, like some random thing. And then the other day I was talking about the show and they were laughing. And I just realized, like, I've really had this charmed little journalism life. And, like, I get to do things that are really cool. And, like, your book being turned into a show is utterly preposterous. It's crazy. So it's great.
What was the coolest part of that whole experience for you?
Easy. Going to the premiere party, and I took my daughter. My wife was out of town, so I took my daughter, who was 18, and my son, who at the time was 15. And it was amazing. It was in Hollywood. It was at a movie theater. All the stars are there. They had tons of food and stuff, and they sent a car for us, which dazzled my kids. And at one point, they had a cigar bar where they were making cigars. My daughter said, should we have a cigar? She probably said, should I have a cigar, meaning her. And I was like, I mean, how many times are we going to be at a premiere party where they're making cigars for a book I wrote? And me, my 18-year-old daughter, and my 15-year-old son all smoked a cigar. We didn't smoke the whole thing. And it was like, there's this Michael Chiklis was next to us, a guy who plays Red Auerbach, and he's smoking this. It was just a magical evening. It's great. It's killer.
That's awesome. And season 2 is coming out. Are they filming season 2 or writing? Where's that stand right now?
They're filming it now, writing and filming
cool.
at the same time. It's scheduled for summer of 23.
Awesome. So that's awesome. And of course, your book is out now, Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. Before we get to it, I gotta know, in all of your 8 million interviews that you're doing promotionally for this book, how many times have you been asked about Super Tech Mobile yet?
Once, but I've only done so far. I haven't done a ton. I haven't done it. Yeah, but
okay.
I expect to be asked a bunch, but only once.
That's crazy. I was a Thurman Thomas guy in that game because Bills fan, but I know
Bo
Jackson.
Jackson.
Oh yeah. The fandom runs deep. So,
wow. I mean, you would draft. I mean, it's not a draft, but you would take Thurman Thomas if you had the option. You need to win a game.
100%. When I was a kid, in the heyday of the game, Thurman Thomas. Now it's Bo Jackson, obviously.
Well, they programmed Bo Jackson with the fastest speed by far. Like, he was at 75. I think Jerry Rice was maybe a 67 on their speed rankings. And so literally once he got past any of your other little, block figures, It was impossible to catch him. Nothing you could do.
So when going back now, do you remember the first kind of aha moment that I want to write a biography of Bo Jackson? Do you remember when that happened?
I don't actually. I know. I can tell you, like, I finished, or I was finishing, sort of the working on my last book, which was Three Ring Circus, and you do go through this process of thinking, what could I do next? What could I do next? Who's iconic that hasn't been written about? That's the whole thing. The hard thing. Who's iconic who hasn't been written about? And the list shrinks every year. And also, like, who's iconic and who's in the wheelhouse of people who are still reading books.
Right.
Like, I don't think a Babe Ruth book would sell anymore. I don't even know if a Jackie Robinson book would sell anymore to that degree, because most people watch them are dead, if not all. So it's really hard to figure out who's iconic, who's right about. And I did think a lot about being a kid. I look back at the posters on my wall. That's a good barometer. And I had multiple Bo Jackson posters on my wall.
Nice. What was it? What was it? I mean, we're roughly the same age, so I remember the Bo Jackson. I actually, it's funny because you've written about this, and I had the Bo Knows Bo book, his autobiography
Yeah.
that Dick Shapp Dick Shapp co-wrote, ghost wrote, however it worked.
Wrote.
He wrote.
Yeah.
Can you explain how cool Bo Jackson was in the '80s? And late '80s, early '90s, when like this heyday, because it was like, I just think magic when I think of him. Like, that's the word that comes to mind.
Someone asked me recently, like, how would you, to a kid today, what would you tell them or show them? And I would just show Bo Jackson running up the wall in Baltimore as a Kansas City Royal and be like, because, all right, I did on Twitter and social medias, I did my top 10 favorite Bo Jackson moments.
Yeah.
And my son recently was arguing for the Harold Reynolds throw, right? A vintage Bo Jackson moment, no doubt. But I said to him, like, there have been other amazing throws. Every year there are amazing throws. There are throws that were just as amazing as that one that happen every year in Major League Baseball, where the announcers go, "Oh, he's saying, oh my God." Like, that's not an uncommon thing. You know, you get at least 2 or 3 a year. No one's climbed up the wall.
Right.
Like, literally never again has someone run to the outfield wall, said, "Oh, there's a wall in front of me. I'm just going to run up it, horizontal and down." And the people I learned later, like from research this, there were guys in the Oriole bullpen, which was behind the wall, who recoiled back because they saw the top of Bo's head and thought he was coming over.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I just think, like, he ran up a wall. Like, he ran up a wall. And also, like, I mean, again, I don't know if this does it, but like 1989, his only All-Star game appearance, he leads off the game. Tony La Russa leads him off for the AL because it just feels like a moment. And it was such a moment. Like, Vince Scully was calling the game with Ronald Reagan, who was just out of the White House. It was a perfect blue sky. It's Southern California. It's a packed stadium. The All-Star game at that point was watched by millions and millions of Americans. It felt like an event. And Bo Jackson leads off, and the second pitch from Rick Rushall, he just hammers into center field, and scruff in the outfield. Who's going to get it? And the cool thing about that moment, and this really speaks to Bo Jackson's coolness, I think, later that game, Nike was premiering the Bo You Don't Know Diddley ad on TV. Mm-hmm. That was going to be the first time it ran. And all the Nike executives were watching the game in Mickey Mantle's restaurant in Manhattan. And when Bo Jackson hit that home run, they went crazy. They were jumping up and down, celebrating. Like, the timing could not have been better to announce Bo Jackson to the world.
Right.
And that commercial ran like an hour later. And that's, it's just, it's the best.
Yeah. So, okay, you kind of get the idea. You think it through. You kind of land on Bo as this guy who people want to read. Iconic figure, hasn't really been written about a lot, which is really surprising now that I think about it. Mm-hmm. What's your next step? Like, what are your first couple steps from, hey, this is an idea, to this is my next book project for a couple of years?
I go to eBay and I get every media guide I can find from Bo Jackson. So I got all the Auburn football media guides. He played in 1986 with the Memphis Chicks, AA team of the Royals. I got their program. Then I bought all the Royals, White Sox, Angels, Raiders, media guides. You buy every book. I bought Bo Knows Bo. I bought every kid's book. I will buy every kid's book, every book, books that make reference to Bo Jackson, anything, everything. Then you'll buy like George Brett's autobiography, Willie Wilson's autobiography. Marcus Allen has 2 autobiographies. You buy those, like anything you can find. At the same time, you start going on newspapers.com and building up this massive archive library of Bo Jackson. And I also wrote Bo Jackson. I wrote him a letter. I sent him a couple of my books. He called me. He was very nice. He was driving to get his wife a chopped salad. And he said, in short, he's like, I don't have a problem with you doing this. I'm not interested in helping. I don't really want to write a book, and I'm pretty happy with my life. Good luck with it. But we talked for a half hour. He was really nice. And then once that happens, you're like, all right, full steam ahead. I'm just going for everyone.
So according to the Amazon page, 720 interviews for this one. Is that a high for you?
It is.
Not counting Bo, who would you have done? Who would you wanted to be number 721?
Oh, well, he's dead, but his college football coach, Pat Dye, I think that he's deceased. I wish I got him. One thing I learned, actually, and sometimes I screwed up still, is if people are sick or particularly old, but they're still alive, call them first. Make sure to call them first. And sometimes I always screw that up. So, yeah.
Okay. So you have every media guide known to me. Do you keep them, by the way?
No, not forever. Oftentimes I'll try to donate them somewhere. I never just throw stuff out. Like a lot of my books, like the books go to Goodwill and the media guides. Sometimes I do a contest online. Hey, Auburn fans, who wants to win? And I won't charge for shipping. I just send them. I feel like it's a mitzvah. Yeah.
So also Marcus Allen has 2 autobiographies. That seems overkill, but
A little bit over. His one is really good. One of them is actually really good, but yeah.
all right. So you have all these articles. You have this kind of like library of stuff on Bo Jackson, and you start getting a hold of teammates. You start getting a hold of people. And do you still do? I know we've talked about this in the past on past episodes. The Word doc for each person.
I do.
Okay. So I'm just curious. The 720 interviews. I'm fascinated of the logistics of this. Like you do the interviews, you have the transcripts down. How do you possibly organize this? Not just organize it, but how do you like remember what people say and kind of take this? I'm sure it's a pile like yay big.
Yeah.
And then kind of start turning that into a book, into copy.
Yeah, it's a freaking nightmare. No, it truly is. It's a nightmare. And I would advise anyone who wants to write a book not to listen to me because I know there are better ways of doing this. I'm being sincere when I say that. There are better ways of doing this. I do print everything out, which isn't cool. My wife keeps saying, can you stop printing everything out? And I'm like, I don't know how. So I tried briefly. It didn't work. So, okay. Basically, when you're writing a biography, it is chronological. It has a lot of branches, but it's basically chronological. You're starting here, you're ending there. So let's say I'm writing about Bo Jackson in Bessemer, Alabama. Okay. I'll do a folder. I'll print out every interview I do, and I'll put them in the Bessemer folder. Or if I'm just doing high school, McAdory High School, I'll do the McAdory folder. And then when I'm writing, when I start writing, I have these folders, and I know I'm going to write about McAdory. And I'll take out the McAdory folder, and I'll go through with a highlight, and I'll narc things. I'll mark up the pages like thing about mom, thing about his mom, thing about his siblings, first car, stuff like that, like mark it all. So I'm writing, and I just literally have the papers next to me, and I'm going through them, reading through, okay, this here, this there, and then I'll go back again later and make sure I didn't miss things. I always do. So it's basically like, okay, I'm done with the Bessemer folder. I can put that aside. I'm up to Auburn. Here, and like with Auburn, not only do I have the photo, so let's say I interviewed 70 guys from Auburn, which is probably about right, teammates. Then I'll do it by year. These guys are all here for freshman year. Then these guys are here for freshman and sophomore. These guys are here, and it'll be chronological. It sucks, but it's just the best way to do it.
So I'm curious too, all the stories that you get from all of these interviews and all the stuff. And obviously Bo, we're going to get into this in a few minutes, but Bo has stories and then stories on top of stories and all of this. And I know you mentioned this. I love the video previews you're doing on Twitter, your top 10 moments that you mentioned earlier. And one of them was a story that's actually not a play that's not in the book. I think it was the Georgia Tech run from the Auburn Georgia Tech run. And so I'm just curious, you have all these stories. How do you know which ones to include, which ones to drop, or which ones to not have in the book?
I mean, it really depends on like that really hurt me. That kind of cut my heart out for a day. I love this run. Like love. It's a beautiful run. It tells you everything you need to know about Bo Jackson outrunning a defense. They have a future NFL star, Pat Swilling, on the defense. Blah, 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 whole thing. But I just, when I was reading the draft, I was like, I don't like sports books where it's like, and then in the third inning, and then in the fourth inning,
right,
and then the sixth inning, they came back for like, I don't really care. Like, I just don't care that much. So like, if I've already told the story of Bo Jackson's gallop or Bo Jackson's speed in a run, I don't think doing it again reveals that much. Like I've already told you. So you just sort of, you read it. Also, my book can't be 7 million words. Like I do have to,
right.
Inevitably I write too long, and an editor will say, you need to cut 20,000 words. And I'll just start looking at things I repeated and say, is there a better run than this? Or are there better descriptions in this that I used already? In this case, there was. So life's a crapper. Oh, really?
That's the title of that's the title of the episode.
That's
right
my
there.
Autobiography. Life's a crapper.
So the book is called The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. So the idea of myth is right there. I mean, it's right there in the title of the book. What was it like for you as a writer to kind of approach this, both defining what that myth is and also, I don't want to say necessarily debunking it, but showing where the myth was real and where the myth was not true?
It's pretty hard, actually, because there are a lot of like You know, like Joe Posnanski, the writer Joe Posnanski was the one who came up with the last folk hero for Bo Jackson. And I told him I was using it. I mentioned in the acknowledgments, like, I love that. And his whole point was like, he talked specifically about the Harold Reynolds throw in Seattle. And, you know, any sports fan over age, whatever, 35 has seen that replay at some point. And he's like, watch it again, and you'll notice you don't actually see Bo throw the ball. And I went back and I was like, you actually don't see Bo throw the ball because the camera shifts to Harold Reynolds. And it's like, I assume he threw the ball, and I assume like in my mind, I can actually picture him throwing the ball because I always thought I saw it. And I didn't. So it's a really intriguing thing, this idea that like there's this guy and there are all these legends about him, and a lot of them went unseen. So I think the biggest challenge is like, you're writing about a game no one saw, but everyone talks about. How much can you trust eyewitness accounts? How much do you greet it with a wink, wink and a nudge, nudge? And a lot of it is, if I'm being honest, it's a little bit of guesswork.
Okay.
And trusting people and hoping people are being honest with you. Like, that's part of reporting, you know, like, and it's a little more challenging with a guy who did so many things that nobody saw. Now, you know, not many people saw.
Right. I'm curious too. Is it at all? I mean, you've written enough biographies at this point to kind of, you know, dealing with famous athletes and the myth versus the story. But with a guy like Bo, it seems like so many of these myths and stories are like, they're fun. They're kind of awesome myths, right? They're cool stories. Is it at all a bummer to kind of realize, not only to realize, oh, that didn't actually happen. Like, he really played. I think it was the White Sox, the one video I just saw today, the White Sox throw against the Yankees where he hits the guy at third, and they're like, he didn't even play the next day. Well, he did play the next day. Is it ever a bummer to not just learn that, but then to feel like, oh, I gotta debunk this?
Okay, so that's such a good question. In his autobiography, he says, which, you know, he wrote with Dick Schaap, he said that he went 0 for his first 21 at Auburn with 21 strikeouts. And I had no reason not to believe him. He was a free swinger. He was raw, blah, blah, blah. So I think when I pitched the book even, I said, and you won't believe this, but blah, blah, blah. Then I tracked down the box score for his first ever game against Southern Illinois. And he had one hit. The box score said 2. He actually only had one hit. But he had a hit in his first at bat. So he didn't go 0 for 21. And also, like, he ground out another at bat. So he didn't go 0 for 21 with 21 strikeouts. And Bo Jackson starting his career 0 for 21 with 21 strikeouts is a much better story.
Right.
And Bo Jackson got a single. He beat out a single to short, basically, his first at bat. And I interviewed the shortstop playing for Southern Illinois. And that was cool. But, like, it's a much cooler story if he goes 0 for 21.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But what can you do?
I mean, it's got to be fun that you can, the way you write too, you can acknowledge both especially writing about the myth, you can acknowledge and write about the myth, but say, this is what really happened.
Well, I think I set it up with, like, early in the book, I write about this near plane crash involving the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
And I got 2 stories on it. Either plane's on fire, it's going down, everyone's freaking out, and Bo Jackson emerges from the cockpit and tells everyone, be calm, everyone, they got it under control. Or Bo Jackson charges toward the cockpit to help the pilots. Now, I said only with Bo Jackson can both stories be true, which is kind of like, again, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We know This is farcical, but something cool happened.
Right. So less about writing, more about Bo, but how much of this story and this folk hero aspect of it is kind of embedded in the fact that he just kind of vanished. Like, he got hurt, obviously, so he did have that little comeback, but he was like a comet, like kind of like, not the original, but he was very much a comet where he was really bright and then he's gone. How much is that part of the story and an intriguing part of the story?
I didn't really think about this until the other day, but in a lot of ways, it's not that dissimilar from when I wrote about Walter Payton, a book called Sweetness, in that when someone dies young, there's this whole what could have been that hangs over him. I mean, I don't think people are nearly as fascinated by John F. Kennedy if he's not assassinated in Dallas. If he goes on to be a 2-term president, I mean, how many of us are talking about Eisenhower? You know, like, I'm just saying, like, so I do think there's something about a disappearing act, of vanishing. And with Bo Jackson, he didn't die young, but his career ended very prematurely. And then he basically vanished off the face of the earth. He's not a self-promoter. He doesn't host a radio show or a podcast. He's not selling coins or hamburger. You know, like, he does actually sell food, but he works a job. He shovels his driveway. He lives in suburban Chicago. He drives a Ford truck. He's a husband for almost 40 years. Like, he just vanished and became normal, which makes it so much more interesting.
Right.
Like, if he had a Dennis Rodman like post career, it'd be kind of boring. Like, kind of boring. Dennis Rodman is not interesting to me. He's boring and he's seeking the spotlight. This guy's not seeking the spotlight. It makes him all the more interesting and incredible.
Right. So this is your, I hope I'm getting this right, your fifth biography. You had Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Brett Favre, and that's a murderer's row of good dudes. And Walter Payton, like you said. How is the writing about Bo Jackson and the Bo Jackson story that you tell, how's it different from those guys?
Well, it's interesting because when someone has a very short career, I have an image in my head that's kind of weird. It's like when you write about something long, like when I wrote Showtime's about the Laker dynasty, so it goes from 79 to 91. That's a long stretch of seasons. I think of it like pulling taffy. Like when you see people pulling, I'm doing a motion people can't see, but it's like pulling pasta and having it dangle. It's long. And when I write a book like this, it feels like smushing together a hamburger.
Okay.
Like you have all this meat and all this stuff, but it's in a very tight period of time. You know, everything Bo Jackson did from the time he arrived at Auburn in 1982 to the time he was done, time he hurt his hip basically in 91, that's a real short period of time.
Yeah.
And he plays 3 more years hobbled. So it's basically his golden years are 82 to 94, and it's all smushed together. And what's kind of cool about that in a way is it does give you time in writing a book to really dig into these signature moments. So, you know, him climbing up a wall. Well, I can devote 5 hits. His first at bat, his first major league at bat was art to me. It was like watching beautiful art. Him against Steve Carlton. And it's this 7-pitch at bat, and it's a back and forth, and it's this veteran on his way out, and it's his new guy, and he's just there. And Bo Jackson is full of muscles, and Steve Carlton has a gut, and you know, Steve Carlton's hanging on, and Bo Jackson's just this ball of energy. And I was able to turn that into like a 6-page rock opera.
Right.
You know? It reminds me of like Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf. Like he took this song and he just extended this story. And it's really fun when you're able to do that. Like it's really fun when you're able to do that.
I'm looking at you posted a picture of that the beginning of that chapter, and I love your writing because it's so, I don't know if blunt, I mean that as a compliment, but I love the first sentence of that chapter. Steve Carlton was hanging on by a thread, and it was pathetic. And I love that, and I use that, not that sentence, obviously the book is just out, but I keep you in mind when I teach and when I write myself. Like you just seem to write very, like you say what you are meaning to say. Like there's not a lot of like artifice to it. There's not a lot of like shielding or building up. I love that about your writing, how it's just kind of like you say what you're going to say and what you're trying to say. And I like that.
Well, first of all, that's incredibly kind. A few things about that I really think. I remember when I started Sports Illustrated, and there were a lot of guys from like Princeton and Harvard and Yale. And like, I knew they were smarter than I was. Like I knew they were smart, and they were using words and stories I just didn't know. I'm not a dummy. I went to Delaware. It's a legit
good
college.
School. Yeah.
Fine. But like, I'm not that smart. I'm not a guy with the greatest vocabulary of all time. Like, it's fine. It's solid. It's like an average American, probably above average American vocabulary. But if you put me up, if you had me and like David Marinus sitting down, he'd pull out words I couldn't, or Jonathan Ive, he'd pull out words I couldn't. So you kind of do what you know. And I'm a New Yorker. I do speak in sort of choppy sentences, and I use my hands a lot. And after a while, you kind of write how you speak, or you speak how you write. And it's just kind of how I talk. And one thing I really love that I learned through the years of writing, definitely, is how to be a little bit more of a narrator. Like,
okay,
I'm writing a book. I can say it was pathetic. You're in journalism school, you would never, that'd be a big no-no. But as you get along and you get more comfortable with sort of writing in a voice, I can say that. I can guide that along, and that's okay.
And that's something you can probably do more in a book setting than in a newspaper setting or something like that.
Definitely more than a newspaper. I would say I learned it at Sports Illustrated. Like if you read like Rick Riley or Gary Smith.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, when you're really good at it, like really, really good at it, I'm not saying I am, it goes unnoticed. Like it's so natural that the narrator's taking you somewhere. I mean, like Gary Smith was a master at it. Mm-hmm. And you would never think to yourself, oh, he's trying to do blank. Like he just did it.
Right.
And that's really, really hard.
Right. So what lessons from all of your books, but maybe particularly the other biographies that you did, what lessons did you accumulate that applied to this book, do you think?
Writing lessons or life lessons?
Let's do both. Let's do writing and life.
I mean, writing lessons, I feel like every book I get something out. Number one, which comes from SI, always is make the extra call, make the extra call, make the extra call. Just make the extra call. Always make the extra call until you don't have time. And another is like definitely this idea I've learned through the years of walking through your fear. Like I think people think as you get older, you lose your fear of knocking on a door, your fear of having to face someone you're not that comfortable with. But you don't. I'm still terrified of that stuff. I don't like it. I hate awkward conversations. You did, like in this book, just 2 examples. I went to Bessemer, Alabama. I went to Bo Jackson Street. It's a very poor, very rural area in Alabama. I'm like, a Jewish guy from New York. It's not my turf. But I went door to door knocking on doors saying, hey, my name's Jeff Pearlman. Here's a book I wrote. I'm working on a book about Bo Jackson. And the first guy I actually talked to, his name was Symphony. And he lived on the end of the street. And he was burning his trash in his yard.
Okay.
And I was just talking about the neighborhood and everything. And it was beautiful. And like, is it a little nerve-wracking knocking on a strange door? And it doesn't matter if it's a white neighborhood, a black neighborhood, a poor neighborhood. It's just like nerve-wracking knocking on a door. It is, but you walk through it. And the other thing, like, I write a decent amount in this book about a booster for Auburn named Freeland Abbott. And he avoided me like the freaking plague. He really did. Like I befriended him on Facebook, DM'd him, nothing. I think I wrote a letter or whatever, like every outreach I could think of, I did. And I was in Alabama and I had an address and I'm like, I'm going to knock on his door with a note and a book. And I was freaking nervous. I was driving around. I called my friend Jonathan Ig. I'm like, I already tried this guy. Should I knock on his door? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I know I need to. So I'll drive around and I'll talk myself into it. My hands are sweaty right now talking about it. I swear to God. And I knocked and his daughter answered and she was really nice and he wasn't there, but I left the note and I feel good that I left the note. Now I can say I tried. So you don't lose the fear. You just learn to walk through it a little bit.
So I ask everybody this. I've asked you, 911 times. So I'll ask you again. What's the best thing you've read lately?
Oh, I read Jasmine Guy, the actress, wrote a book about Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful book. It's freaking good. Someone recommended it. They know I like Tupac. And it was awesome. So that was really good. And also Timothy Bella has a book out from the Washington Post, has a biography of Charles Barkley coming out.
Oh, nice.
Funny. Yeah, it's good. And it's funny because Barkley and Bo were at Auburn at the same time. So, and we talked a lot during the book. We DM'd, have you talked to this guy? Have you talked to this guy?
Oh, nice.
And he did a real freaking great job.
Awesome. Well, links to that will be in the show notes. Links to buy your book and all of your books. We'll have them all in the show notes there. And whenever you come up with the next book, we'll do number 983. So Jeff Pearlman, I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to The Other 51. Show notes for this and all of our episodes can be found at sportsmediaguide.com by clicking on the Other 51 tab. If you like the show, please consider giving it a rating and a review, either at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help people find the show. Our theme music is by Ellie Moritz.